Okay, I was initially dreading the making of this video, like, a lot, to a point of where I started to make other projects alongside it, but I feel like this is the best way to do this video with all of the critique that everybody has had for this game, including myself. If you've talked to me on Discord, you probably know this by now. Just the things that I've been saying about this game, and just the things that everybody has been saying about this game. Maybe some that you've heard before, maybe some that you haven't, but it seems like everybody is finding something uniquely wrong with this game. And I feel like this will be the best way I go about explaining my issues. Originally, there was like a whole, let me skip this, there was like a whole hour-long thing that I wrote out and recorded the audio for, and I was gonna go in and record footage for it, and I was gonna edit it all together, make it real funny and all that good stuff. But I didn't want to, and I figured that I might as well do this just to make sure people know that I'm not dead, one, and two, actually provide a sense of where I'm coming from with this game. So, I think I know everything I'm going to be saying is like some hot nuclear take or something, and this video is probably going to get a lot of dislikes, a lot of hate, but I don't care. It's an opinion. You're allowed to have those. And I think the biggest issue with this game is that it's sloppy, mainly in plot and execution. And that's a very broad scale thing that I feel like isn't addressed properly a lot of the time, but just hear me out on it, all right? The story in this game tried to be too similar to Breath of the Wild, and I know that initially sounds stupid. Hang on, let me turn controller vibration off so that I don't get tilted and freak out as to why everything is like, where is the, oh, it's in the using menu, and whatever. Anyway, let's see, plot, right. In terms of that, I just don't think it's put together right. It tries too hard to be Breath of the Wild, even though it is a quote sequel to Breath of the Wild. But it has issues because it doesn't quite tackle the issues that Breath of the Wild left off on, like, at all. And instead, it just tries to be its own thing, which can be good, but the fact that it's a sequel makes it kind of not make sense. Like, you got all this. And I will say, like, I'll give the game props. It's a very good looking game. But let's start with this. I'm gonna talk about the way they handled Zelda in particular. Look, you see her in the back. I feel like the way they handled Zelda in this game ruined the whole way the plot progressed. Because they almost tried to treat Zelda as if she were Link, almost, if that makes any sense. You had to, like, go through and get her memories and progress her story while nothing happened in the base game overworld. Like, we're doing this right now. Almost nothing we do in the overworld has anything to do with what's happening in the past. And I feel like they just kind of, here, let me just get down here so I can finish making the plot point and not getting my point across without getting interrupted by the music every 2 seconds. Zelda is treated like Link in this game. And that's not a good thing, because they tried to do the memory thing again. And in this case, it winds up being lazy. Why is that? Initially, you would think, oh my god, what are you saying? They did memories in Breath of the Wild and it was fine. And I made a point like this in the original script that I had for the video, but Breath of the Wild might be the only instance where a memory system like that works. And let me tell you why. Breath of the Wild sets up Link to be, you know, a hero. He's got to save a damsel in distress. We know this story. But he has, I think it's called regressing amnesia. Basically, he wakes up, he doesn't know where he is, kind of like if you were to wake up from a really long coma after drinking, it would take you a bit to remember some stuff, and maybe coming across some object or talking to some person would help trigger that memory in you, and then all of a sudden, oh, it all makes sense. And it works in Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild only. In this game, we have our memories. We're a sane individual. We know where we mostly know where we are, excluding the Sky Islands, but they tried to apply the memories thing to Zelda, and I don't understand why they did that, because to me it's just kind of lazy storytelling. And let me see if I can tackle that. God, this video sucks. It's gonna be so bad. I'm not even gonna cut this out. You're gonna be hearing me say this, just sounding like an idiot. Anyway, Zelda having memories makes no sense, and I don't understand why they went that way, because Zelda, just like us, remembers everything. And us going through the past to try and, what the hell, get Zelda's memories back is pointless. Because what are we trying to retrieve other than to learn the story? Like, there's no real reason for it to happen. And other than that, it's like, it just seems like a lazy excuse to write the story. Because you have a fine story. It's Zelda going into the past, using some weird time power, which I'll talk about in a second, and how that's also a bit of a plot issue. And she meets a bunch of old people that she heard about in her studies, and she's gotta learn her power again, and then get back to the future. Back to the Future. Oh my god, that's a movie. But oh god, how can I say it? I can talk about the Zelda being stuck in the past thing again. And actually, no, I can talk about the whole trying to be Breath of the Wild too much thing again. Zelda in Breath of the Wild we learn about her through the memories, we learn about what she was like, we learn about the relationships she had with her father, with us, with the champions, with people and all that good stuff just by going around and exploring the world. But what happens throughout the plot line of Breath of the Wild is Zelda has to awaken an old power that is sealed within her. Right? Sounds like a pretty common story. Forgot I don't have a shield. And with Tears, they tried to do it again, and unfortunately, what happened with that is Zelda already had her power. She already mastered her inner being, or whatever you want to call it. And okay, how do I... She already mastered her old power, and they just decided, you know what? Forget it. That power that you had, it's gone. It's worthless now. Because now you're stuck back in time, and you have to get to the future again. Why does she not know about that? I would think she would know about that. Like, she went back into the past. Why can't she go forward? Like, that's a whole thing. I just don't know what they were thinking with that stuff. Anyways, like, I can try my best to talk about, like, little plot details as much as I want, but it'll all just kind of come off, like, convoluted and stupid, because there's a lot I want to address and can't address, because, like, I can't do it without writing it down. But, you know... I'm a little lazy motherfucker, and I just want to get this done. So for a plot video, I don't know, ask me about it in a comment or something. Like, oh, do you want a plot video? Drop a comment on it. I'll think about it in 2 years' time and all that good stuff. Anyway, on to something else that I think is a more subjective problem than the sloppy writing that I may or may not write more about. This game advertised itself on verticality, the Sky Islands. They didn't do any promo for the depths and all that good stuff. But the game's main selling point was islands in the sky, stuff to do in the sky, a whole game's worth of content just up top above you. And then, like, I'll do this and then you'll see what I'm talking about, but the sky is very void of things to do. Like, there's maybe a mini game, like a recycled mini game that we see 3 times to get the glide set. There's the Great Sky Island. This is admittingly a good section of the game with all that good stuff. But if you go out and you look up, there's like no sky islands. There's like maybe 1 or 2 little archipelagos, but they're all just the same kind of recycled thing that you see throughout the game, throughout the map. Like, oh, I've seen this archipelago pattern before. I know how to do it. Let me just whoop-de-fucking-do my way through it, and there we go. And that's an issue, because I wanted something new each time I went and found a new sky island, or did a new quest, or wanted to find a new thing. When I saw those frickin', what the hell, the big ass, the glide islands, I'll just call them that, the glide game islands, where you have to jump through all the rings and stuff. I was like, oh my god, look at these things. It's gonna be some cool thing I have to explore, and then it'll be some weird thing with a bunch of secrets. I'll find maybe a few Korok seeds on them. There'll be some valuable loot given how difficult they are to climb, and that just wasn't the case at all. It was just a mini game. And oh, you gotta rep it a bunch of times, and then you gotta get to the bottom as fast as possible and you'll get a piece of armor. Like, it's that whole thing that got to me. Because there's not much verticality to that. There's no real reason to be up here other than to do the Great Sky Island and to maybe get a piece of armor or 2. Like, the shrines that are up here, there's not very many. But they're all part of some recycled puzzle. You bring a crystal to a point, and then, oh, the shrine's there. And that's another thing they used from Breath of the Wild. Some shrines you had to put an orb into one of those little, like, pedestal things, and then the shrine would show up. Like, this is something we've seen before. And when I saw it again initially, I was like, oh my god, look, it's cool, it's a new design. And then I realized it's the same concept. And I got bored really quickly. I will admit, like, I have 100%ed the game, but I've only done it once, and I never want to do it again. Because it's the same throughout the whole world. I was kind of going throughout the world, hoping for something different each time, but it just wasn't there. And anyway, now I can talk about the lack of sky islands. Like, okay, I haven't used the scope yet. There's one of the glide islands over there. It looks really cool from a distance, but then you go there and it's just that mini game. There's like a random boss fight over there. There's that thing. There's that thing. There's one of those, which is also a recycled thing. And then you just kind of look around and it's just a bunch of little tiny islands everywhere. And I don't quite understand, like, where they all are. The sky is so void of things to do in this game to the point where why would you even go up here? Like, there's the main quest, which is like you've got the Rito thing with the Stormwind Arc or whatever it's called. You've got the Water Temple, which is admittingly not my favorite. But, like, other than that, why would you come up here? It just seems like a waste. And then there's the depths. Like, the depths are so disappointing when you actually figure them out, because when you look at them, they're just a flipped version of the overworld. So if you've played Breath of the Wild, like as much as I have, and you go to the depths, and then you start looking around, and then you look at the map, you'll realize, damn, I've seen this pattern before. And then all of a sudden, it'll hit you. Like, oh, that's just the overworld. I know how to explore this, because naturally, human brains are crazy. We can just flip the world upside down and say, oh, the thing that was high here is now low here. And it's just like, you had 6 years to make this game, and the best you could do was just frickin' the overworld, but backwards. I don't believe that. Cause like, there's like nothing to do in the depths either. Like, there's maybe 1 or 2 armor sets down there, plus the fire temple. But is there really a reason to go down there other than to get, like, bomb flowers? Because there's really not much to do down there. There's no side quest. There's no NPCs. I mean, sure, there's Koga, and he's funny as hell, but, like, other than that, what is there? For a game that advertised itself so heavily on verticality and being able to go wherever you want and do whatever you want, it just doesn't feel vertical, if that makes any sense. I don't remember what the fall damage is like in this game. I've been playing too much Elden Ring. It just doesn't feel very vertical. Everything is just kind of here, and it's happening, and you can go up if you want to, but why would you ever need to? And then I guess I kind of made my point there and all that good stuff. But I just don't get it. It was the whole selling point for the game, and it just doesn't deliver on it. Everything happens on the base game world, and the voids that existed in the base game world are still there, in tiers. Like, I don't understand why they didn't go back on that and, like, review it a little bit. I keep forgetting how this works. But, you know, eat these real quick. It's just underwhelming, is all I'm saying. Let's see, what else is there? This is also hang on, I can talk about this. This is a bit of like a biased point, but I really miss the Breath of the Wild runes and the abilities like that. Like they were quick, they were snappy, they were unintrusive, and they were fun to use. They made sense. A bomb that blows up, use it to break rocks, use it to you know, disperse large groups of enemies, use it to do crazy combat stuff that they probably didn't think about. There was stasis, freeze an object in time and let it go X place. Magnesis, move a metal object. Cryonis, we don't talk about Cryonis. That ability admittingly wasn't great. But they made sense for what they were. With Tears, it feels more like a dev kit than a set of abilities you were supposed to have. Like, Ascend is literally like a tool that they were using in the development of this game, and they decided, oh, let's just implement it and call it a day. And it was a tool they used to traverse around the map quicker, to get from the bottom to the top of the map, just for testing purposes. And they just decided, oh, let's give it to the players, because why not? Same deal with recall, honestly. Like, oh, you move an object backwards in time. Like, it's cool, but what's really the point of it? Other than, like, a few little niche purposes? Like, oh, I dropped my thing off the edge of this sky island. Better use frickin' recall to get it back and all that. Like, okay, what was the other one? Oh yeah, it's the one I'm in right now. That should say enough about it. Fuse. Like, I get that this is like the whole gimmick of the game, is that weapons are broken and you have to find stuff around the world to, I guess, aid in your adventure and all that. But like, I just wind up forgetting about it 90% of the time, because most of the time only use one weapon, like the Master Sword, or something that doesn't break as easily, or just something that does more damage. Like, I'll forget, and I won't remember it. Like, the tool that I will say they did a great job on is, to the shock of nobody, hang on, I'm gonna throw this thing, to the shock of nobody, it's Ultrahand. They spent so much time developing Ultrahand that you might as well have just spent the whole game's development budget on it. Like, the amount of combinations they needed to think of for specifically Ultrahand, like, literally you had to think of every single possible item combination and program it out and hope and pray to God that it worked. And by using 4 years of time, they made it work. And that's cool and all, and it's a great showcase of what you can program and just sneak into the physics engine. But if you're spending that long on Ultrahand and Ultrahand only, then everything else is just gonna turn out lackluster. Like, I remember going through some of the footage that the development footage that they didn't publicly release for the game, but some guy on Reddit found it. I don't remember who it was, but I was just like, this is cool and all, and I see what they're trying to do with it. Here, get over here. Come on. Come here. Come here. Are you good, bro? There you go. Come here. There we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get over here. Come here. Thank you. Anyway, as I was saying, you spend a lot of time on Ultrahand, and as a result, the rest of the game kind of fails to deliver almost. And I think that's especially shown in the lack of Sky Islands and just the lack of effort put into the depths and the kind of iffy plot writing, or not kind of, very iffy plot writing, and a whole slew of other things. Ultrahand is great, and it's like the whole thing that the game is built around. But everything else just failed, and it makes me very upset. Anyway, let's see, what's something else I can talk about? I mean, there's combat, but that's just me, another biased point. The combat is slow. It probably has something to do with the fact that they removed switch canceling. Oh, I know what I can talk about. The UI. Oh my god, the UI. Okay. Get out of my face, text boxes. Alright. The UI in this game is very intrusive. Like, look at this. So much of this game revolves around just, like, using items around the world to help your adventure, help make you stronger, or whatever you want to call it. Better items or rarer items tend to do better things. Like, you could have a fire choo-choo jelly, and that would emit a small explosion, or you could use a ruby, which is rarer, and do a larger explosion. And that's cool. But when the UI is like this, where you have to just kind of like toggle through everything over and over, and it's so like you can't do anything in here, it's just all gotta be done here. There's a point where the UI becomes more of what you're seeing than the actual game. It doesn't help that the UI is just generally slower than the base game in Breath of the Wild, but like, I don't want to be switching between items 90% of the time. Like, I'll throw some stuff. Like, check this guy out. This guy has no idea what's hitting him. He's crazy. But I don't want to be spending 90% of my game just cycling through items. Like, when I'm exploring the depths, bright bloom seeds are your friend, and everybody knows that by now. But like, I don't want to do this every time. Like, I don't want to finically just kind of like do this every time and throw out more seeds like that. It's just, it gets annoying. I don't know why I can't just leave it on and throw it like that and maybe toggle between them so that I don't have to keep going into the UI every time. Like, same deal with this. Like, it looks cool and all, but like, you can't use fuse in the menu. You can do this for some reason, but you have to throw an item on the ground to fuse it. You can't use fuse in the menu, and that would make the game faster. It would make it snappier. Like, you could have, like, if I were to click this stick or something, you could have a fuse option below the drop option, and you could put an item on it in the menu, because that makes sense. You can do the other thing, which is destroying the material. Why can't you put the material on? It would, again, make it less obtrusive, or intrusive, or whatever you want to call it. Whichever one is more grammatically correct. Oh, what the hell? Like, the weapon UI is about the same as it is in Breath of the Wild, and I do like the addition of like the sort functions and the drop function in there, but I don't understand why like they had to fucking be so intrusive with the items, given they're the main part of the game. Like, I want to be able to switch things on the fly. I want to be able to, like, let's say I want to fuse something to this broadsword. I have to go in, go here, hope and pray to God that it actually drops it, hold the button, hope it fuses, and then it'll work. Why can't I just do it in the menu? Like, I don't get it. Like, that's a little annoyance that I have. And I know a lot of people probably won't have that problem, but then again, like, this is my critique. I probably won't have the same problems as other people. Just like, what's the word? I don't know. Let me think about something else. I will say, some of the NPC quests are pretty good. Like, Tulin is my goat. Dude will straight up fight for your honor and for your life because you helped him. And he's great, but the others are just kind of there. Yunobo's just a drug lord for a little while, and then he goes back to his usual clumsy self, and I'm already not the biggest fan of him in Breath of the Wild. Sidon's not exactly on par with his Breath of the Wild self. I don't exactly have a solid take on Riju, and Tulin's just my goat. But there came a point where it all just felt recycled and used before. Because, going back to the point I made at the start of this whole thing, it feels like it's trying to be Breath of the Wild too much. Which is so weird to say. Like, I hate saying that, but it's true. Let's see. And something like that. A little dingy. It feels like it's trying to be Breath of the Wild too much. Feels like it's trying to be Breath of the Wild too much. Feels like it's trying to be Breath of the Wild too much. And maybe this is just like me being nostalgic or something. Maybe this is me like, oh, they'll never do it as good as Breath of the Wild. This is not gonna go over very well. But whatever. Oh. My plan. It's genius. Like, maybe it's just me being nostalgic and caring too much for Breath of the Wild and just, like, having such high hopes for what this game should have been. Because the game itself is, from an objective standpoint, pretty good, aside from its sloppy plot execution. But coming off of Breath of the Wild, like, you had to surpass it somehow. And initially, I was like, oh my god, they did it. It's like the best game ever. Like, I can't wait to 100% it and all that good stuff. But, I don't know, maybe it just aged badly. Maybe it just came off as cliche and overused, or it could just be like them kind of rolling back to tradition almost. Here's another nuclear take. I'm not a fan of traditional Zelda very much. I know it's weird because I built my whole channel off of Breath of the Wild combat, but I don't like old Zelda. Like, I've played Skyward Sword, I've played Twilight Princess, like, I think I played A Link to the Past, I played the original one, I played the Link to the Past remake, like, and none of them ever really came to live up to what I know as Breath of the Wild. And it made me sad, because I hear everybody talk about how great these games are, and how, like, oh, look at this thing. Look at how great this game is. I love this game. And they just kind of felt obtrusive and gimmicky to me. And again, nuclear take, but I just think that. And this game I guess kind of follows into that a little bit, which is kind of sad, but this game is a bit gimmicky. It's a bit like cheesy, and it can fall flat at times because of that, in my opinion. And I hate to say that, because Breath of the Wild was just so out there, in your face. You gotta figure this stuff out. Whereas with Tears, it was just like, oh, here's this thing, and here's how to do it. And it never really felt like I was using my brain too much, or like any kind of skill that I was trying to build up. It just kind of felt like I was aimlessly doing the thing that the game presented me with. And I like challenges. Maybe that's another thing. This game's pretty easy. I like when my games are hard. It's why I came around to Elden Ring so much. But the game is just so do this. Like, use this to do this. Because, like, if I pick this up, a dangerous flower that contains explosive elements does not mix well with fire or electricity unless the goal is to blow things up. Like, it just tells you everything. Like, that's what you do with it. You blow shit up with it. And then with the things that look like you can blow them up, you blow them up. Wow, it's a shrine. Haven't seen that before. Again, a thing from Breath of the Wild that was done better because, you know, you haven't seen these things before. Like, oh, that wall looks interesting. I haven't seen this texture before in any game, so I'm gonna try doing something with it. Can't, like, jump into it, can't attack it. What if I try blowing it up? And that worked. I'm not attacking this guy. It worked. And that's probably the only case where it worked. But in this case, it's just intrusive. It's gimmicky, and I'm not about it. Maybe it's because of, like, oh, they went back to kind of like traditional Zelda style, and it's alright, and oh my god. Maybe I really just don't like traditional Zelda, and that's just me, and maybe that's why so many people like this game a lot more than I do. But it's just, it feels gimmicky. Like with this guy, let's actually attack this guy. You wait for him to show his weak spot, because like if you were like hitting him and stuff, you don't really do very much damage to him. Like if I do that, like then he'll show his weak spot, and then you hit him a bunch. And that's really it. He won't do anything, and you just have to hit him a billion times. Like, this doesn't do any damage to him. Oh, maybe I just gotta wait. Oh, big red spot. Maybe I should go at him. And not get grabbed like that, because for some reason that happened. Quit gnawing on my shit, bitch. But case in point, it's waiting for the gimmick. Show the weak spot, you do the thing, and then you kill him. And give me my shield back. Let's see. Did I talk about the memory system? Yeah, I kind of talked about the memory system. Actually, no. I kind of like touched on the memory system, but I didn't go in depth the way I wanted to. Let me just eat some of this stuff. Let's see, that was 3, so now I gotta go back there. Can I not warp? Right, I can't warp. Oh, that's stupid on my part. Thought I had the glider. The memory system... No, wait, I did talk about the memory system. What am I doing? Like, I just don't know. Like, I want to say so much, but I can't get it off. Like, I can't fully explain it. I can't... help people understand why I don't like this thing. And it ticks me off, unfortunately, that I can't do that, because I have a lot that I want to say, but doing it unscripted and doing it like on the fly like this just makes it kind of difficult. And I know that sounds like I'm being a whiny bitch, but I really do have a lot to say. I recorded an audio. I can maybe like use I talked about this too. God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm crazy. I have dementia. I've got something wrong with me, and I'm forgetting everything I said 40 minutes ago and all that. But yeah, I mean, I might upload that. I might make a video out of that, but I just don't want to. Like, it means playing the game again, and respectfully, I'm too addicted to Elden Ring right now to do that. Don't worry, there's a video coming on that soon. That'll be a fun one. But anyway, should be wrapping this up in a bit. Let's get to the Temple of Time after doing this, and then I guess I'll end it after that. The game is very gimmicky, and that's unfortunate because I don't like it when things are gimmicky. I'm not getting the chest. What the hell? I feel like it kind of works against the game in a bad way, and brings down the general like enjoyment. It's just so hard to find words to express the sheer like disappointment. Okay then. Come on. Do the thing. Fucking hell. What else is there? Let me think. There's gotta be something else. I'm just not thinking about it right now. Talked about the plot a little bit. Talked about the runes and the abilities. Talked about the verticality. Talked about the speed almost. Let me think. What else is there? Aside, I got it. Aside from, what's it called? The kind of lackluster writing, I just am not a big fan of the dialogue choices. It feels very childish, like they had to settle in on a rating almost, and it shows with like the dialects that the characters will speak in, or like the tones of the game itself. Like, oh, look at this bright, colorful game. Or maybe it's just them wanting to use simpler words for the sake of being simpler. And it could be fine, but the game's story is, it seems like, at least, it's supposed to be this, like, serious thing. Why am I not moving? Are you stupid? The game story seems like it's supposed to be this, like, ultra serious thing about, like, trying to, like, travel through time, basically, and, like, meet your lover again. And that's really cool. But it just feels almost wasted, in a sense, because it's not taken seriously. Like, there's so many moments that I can point and kind of laugh at with the dialogue choices. Like there's a real line of dialogue in this game that is fucking hell. There is a real line of dialogue in this game that is dead ass just them talking about naming a horse Zunk or a wagon Zunk. Because, oh, I'm gonna hybrid like Link and something else that rhymes with junk together. Or maybe it was Zachary, I don't know. It's hard to take it seriously. And it makes me sad. Again, because the plot line and storyline that they had could have been so freaking awesome. And it's just unfortunate. Alright, I'm about to get here. And then I'll just like kind of say my closing thoughts. As this cutscene that is again like a major plot mystery, plot hole, whatever you want to call it. I'll wrap it up here. Open the door. Alright. Do that. Alright. Closing thoughts. The game was very hyped up. And having been worked on for 6, almost 7 years, which is crazy to think about, like, I would think they would have more than what was presented to us in, what was it, 2023, May 2023, something like that. And instead, we just kind of got more Breath of the Wild. And to get more Breath of the Wild, it's like, okay, cool, it's more Breath of the Wild, but it took too long. And I wanted more. I got a game that was kind of sloppily put together in terms of plot. I got a game that was kind of slow and unfun to play after one playthrough of it. I got a game that was gimmicky and not very challenging. And moreover, like, I got a game that I probably won't remember very well. Which is unfortunate, but it is the way it is. Anyway, yeah, that's probably about all I have to say. And hopefully when I'm going through this, I don't sound super convoluted and stupid. And hopefully we can find something to agree on. On another note, Elden Ring content soon. That'll be really fun. And yeah, see ya.